Will call the meeting for May 10, 2022 to order at 7:04. If we can all rise and say the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So starting off, I'd like to welcome Yana to the school committee. Welcome, and we welcome back. And so since we have a new member, we will reorganize the school committee positions. So we will start off with the chair position. I will take nominations for the chair position. So can I nominate? You're non-chair now.
Technically, you're not chair.
Okay. I would like to start then the nominations by nominating Patty Harris for chair.
Patty Harris, no, she say no.
No, you can't really discuss it beforehand.
Oh, okay.
Had you had a thought? Wait a second. We'll need to have a second. For the nominations.
Second, how are you second if Patty feels up for the challenge?
I'm more than happy to do it. So you accept the nomination? Is that what you have? Okay, accept the nomination. Okay, so so we'll take a vote.
Aye.
Anna, aye. Aye. Do I have to vote?
You may vote.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
And I would like to make a nomination for vice chair. Oh, I don't think you're saying the chair. Oh, I cannot.
Pardon? No, you're the chair now, so you open for nominations and the other four members can nominate, or you can whisper in someone's ear. Like they do in the Senate.
I'd like to nominate Michelle, vice chair.
Second.
Do you accept that? I can, oh, well, whoever's secretary. All right.
Thank you for your nomination. My typing hands are very pleased.
We take such wonderful minutes.
You do.
Thank you. Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Very confident.
Speak up now. Going once.
I would like to nominate Beth Anderson for
Beth Anderson is not the best choice for vice secretary for a meeting that requires this level of attention to detail and accuracy. Beth Anderson is a. Do we nominate you?
Yes.
I'd like to, I respect that submission, thank you, and I'd like to nominate Gina Lane.
And I second that. I'll accept the nomination.
So that was by Beth,
Yes.
Yes.
seconded
Yeah.
by.
Me.
Diana. Thank you.
Michelle, I appreciate the faith. I did take your role for one night. And it was the
Oh.
hardest night I had on.
Yeah.
And hats off to everything you pulled off.
Thanks, yeah,
I think it's probably the hardest job.
I think, yeah, well, I don't know what that will think. So that fulfills all, so we got a roll call. Oh, we have to. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Congratulations.
Michelle, do you want me to take over minutes now? I can, as long as you don't mind. I don't. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Leanna, it's Liana,
Yes.
and then G, capital L,
Yes.
OID.
Very good.
All right.
Madam Chair, if I may take a moment, I'm hearing that it would be helpful if we spoke towards the microphone and just keep in mind, we don't have microphones at the table.
As loud as we can project, I would imagine would help, right?
That's right, thank you.
Is it just the one guest right now?
Yes, it is.
They'll pop up, okay.
Yep, we're here to have one guest here. Yep. And I asked just to check volume. I asked for a volume check.
Perfect.
And I got one. It wasn't a complaint.
It's all good.
Reading glasses, of course.
How often do we do officer election? Once a year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Just bring it.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming.
So in regards to reading and approval of minutes, I will take a motion to approve the 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of 4/26/22, regular meeting.
I'll second the motion made by Ms. Dan.
All in favor? Oh, any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
401.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why I'm so confused. I have my
That's what we just said. Okay, got it. All right. Okay. So in terms of the examination and authorization for payment of bills, of course, me first. Is there any community correspondence and input?
If there are none from the online visitors, I did have correspondence and input from a community member who had questions about the approval of an employee's child that's in the elementary school, allowing them to come to school and not allowing non-Nahant residents admission into the preschool. And there also seemed to be a concern about tax dollars being spent on this student and not allowing the paid tuition to come in to the school. And so I had responded to say that I would have to review the minutes or review when we voted upon that in the meeting minutes. And there was also a question as to why that was approved, and I had said that as the reasons why was in the confidential executive session minutes. But that I would review the minutes to be sure of what was approved at that time. And so that was my response.
Madam Chair, if I may. Most school districts, most public school districts in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, by contract with their teachers associations and their other employees union, permit the children of employees to attend the public school. That is in fact in your policy manual as your right. In my opinion, this school committee takes a much more conservative viewpoint. Rather than giving a blanket view of that right, this school committee has determined that it would take the request by employees on a case-by-case basis. In this particular case, there are no expenses being borne by the taxpayers. If there were, for example, if we had a very large class and an employee asked to come in and it would generate the need for another staff member, then I would recommend that you not approve it. But that is not the case in this situation. We have 2 teachers, 2 paraprofessionals, and whether or not a particular staff member would have his or her child in a particular room, I would take that into consideration before making my recommendation. In this exact case, the child is actually in our, if not the smallest, the second smallest section in the school.
Second smallest,
It is the smallest, right?
second smallest.
Second smallest. I believe the number is 13.
That's right.
So there is no additional expense being borne by the taxpayers. And I believe the committee in its good decision-making took that into consideration.
Thank you. I also am recalling that the other comment was that it was past practice not to allow employees permission to pay for their child to go to the preschool program, to which I didn't respond because I don't have any knowledge of the past practices. Specifically. the
Madam
gym
Chair?
teacher.
Yeah, Madam Chair, through you. I would say the statement that there is, it is past practice to not allow employees' children to attend is not a blanket statement that is accurate. What is accurate is that the school committee determines the decision based on the request by the employee / parent. And the principal and I look into things like expenses that could be borne, size of sections, and other factors that you have known in this case, and as you said, were discussed in executive session.
And I remember those conversations of what you just discussed regarding additional financial impact on the community in accepting the student, and thank you for your response.
You're very welcome.
I'll just say in addition that I'm looking back at my notes from late October of last year when we first discussed the only case, and I don't know if this is the case, but that was in front of me as a school committee member, and we really, it was a case-by-case basis, as you explained it to us, and Tony, and we really looked at it from a lot of different angles. So just backing up, it felt like it was a really substantive, good, interrogated conversation to make sure that this was the right fit for a tiny town. Like, I definitely take seriously what the person said in terms of resources, and I feel like we answered that with a good duty of care of the school committee. The only other thing that I would add to this is just that as we go forward and continue to do this on a case-by-case basis, we are in really difficult times right now in terms of hiring and competing for staff. There has never been in our lifetime such volatility in the teaching staff writ large across the country as there is right now. And so if there are ways in which we can compete. And for possibly in the future, for a particular staff, this may be a competitive advantage for us to be able to allow this into a great school system. The payoff is going to be for all of our students here in Nahant. If we hire a great teacher or para or other staff person who might want to ask us to consider this. So I think the case-by-case basis is really important for us to keep the integrity of that. But anything that allows us to compete for the good of all of our kids here in Nahant is a win-win. And so I would just ask that those entrusting us, here with governance, would remember that we are in difficult times. And we need to, this is a great asset in Nahant for us to be able to have.
Is there any other correspondence from the community? Okay, then we can move on to the examination and authorization for the payment of bills.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'll start with my motion. I respectfully ask a member of the school committee to make a motion to approve $33,437.87 of bills. The explanation this month is very simple. There are the very typical bills for power, for gas. The gas bill is a 2-month bill. Exterminators that we have this spring, we have had an extra exterminating experience because of this is the time of year where our beautiful little creatures tend to want to come inside. There are special education bills, transportation bills, bills for food for our free and reduced free lunch, which continues to be free, paid for by the federal lunch and breakfast program. There is an expensive testing that was required by an IEP. There are 2 staff members who got reimbursements. And the rest of it is payments that are very, very typical. I do want these members of the school committee to know that typically when we were purchasing something or leasing something or a service that required it to be done online, we used our private credit cards. And then I explained to you that then we would reimburse that individual. I had a conversation with the town accountant today, and she has authorized us through Chris, when possible, to let her put the town credit card in use and to avoid that double process. It's probably not going to work all the time because sometimes the custodian will have to go somewhere and pick something up. But on the other hand, we do have certain companies that we pick things up that we have an account with. We have an Amazon account, we have a custodial service account, we have an account at Home Depot. So we pretty much are trying to avoid that in the future. The ones that are hard are the services for technology, for example, that you just have to do it online. But now we have a system that Chris will forward all the information to the town accountant. She will put in the town's credit card number. Then when the invoice comes into the town, she'll transfer money from our account back to the town, which I think is a little better.
More efficient.
Well, I don't know if it's more efficient, but it certainly it helps our employees not have to take money out of their pockets for 4 to 6 weeks.
May I ask, will the town issue a credit card to someone who registers?
The town accountant suggested that I consider having one. I have always hesitated doing so because it's an opportunity for problems that I've always tried to really avoid things. So the short answer is yes, they will consider it, but I'm hesitant. It's really me. You know, if I lose it, or, you know, if somebody takes it out of my car, you know, I don't, just, it puts a layer of responsibility and worry on my ancient shoulders that is really easy to do without. I've never had one in all my superintendencies. My business officials in bigger districts have had it, but I never did. Of course, we don't have a business official, so it would be me.
No, I understand.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the bill in the May 10th packet in the amount of $33,437.87.
I'll second the motion, if I understand, to approve $33,437.87.
All in favor?
I would stand on one, otherwise.
And Madam Chair, there is a signature page somewhere on
Yeah.
the table.
It's right on top of the pile.
It requires 3 signatures.
Yes, it's also.
Oh, great. I have to get back into the in-person mode too. Thank you.
This is something called paper.
Exactly, right? So moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have a lot of business this evening, so I will attempt to go quickly. The first item is 6A, which is the COVID-19 report, and as everyone knows who is not living in a very permanent-like existence, the cases everywhere are increasing in the United States of America. I saw on this morning's broadcast that 48 out of 50 states are now red, which is the growth percentage, not the number of cases. So the number is still way down below what it was in like last January or initially with the outbreak, but the growth is very high. We have 19 active cases in Nahant. 10 were registered yesterday. Now, the school is in a very different place. I sent you the graph. If you note that Monday's numbers are actually down from the previous week. I think we're past the post-vacation bubble. On the other hand, our staff numbers are as high as they've ever been. And that puts a lot of pressure on the staff and of course on Mr. Andrews. Right now, we have only 3 active cases, but 2 are staff members. The number of 19 in Nahant is probably suppressed because that's the number that are verifiable by documented PCR tests. Home tests are a crapshoot. Some people send the results in to the school nurse and to the public health department, some people don't. I considered making a recommendation to you about reinstituting the mask policy, but because of this week's drop, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to ask you to consider that. Obviously, if one of you wishes to make that motion, you can. I am going to again communicate with the parents and staff members and recommend they give every consideration to students wearing masks and to the staff wearing masks in school when they are in a large group. I've already been doing that one-on-one with staff members. So for example, as you know, we had one grade where the numbers and the percentages were very high. Last week, I talked to both of the teachers in that grade and said, I really think you should wear masks, and they have been wearing a mask since then. So making the recommendation is about as assertive as I am comfortable right now because of the drop. You know, it seems to me that it's, you know, it's like closing the barn doors after the horse is out, you know, and it may cause some angst on the part of parents or students that, in my opinion, is not necessary. I did talk to the public health nurse and to the school nurse about that, and they both support my position.
And, you know, just the added comment that if families are concerned, that they always have the option to send their children to school with masks.
That's right. And we still have the procedure in place where if someone is a close contact and exposed, or have symptomatic positive tests, they are out for 5 days, or if they don't have symptoms, they can come back, but they wear a mask for a minimum of 5 days. If it's a symptomatic person, they stay out for 5 and then wear the mask from day 6 to 10. And I can tell you from personal experience, I was exposed at an event that I went to representing the school district. And several people there did come down with COVID, but I had my N95 on and I've been testing negative ever since. And continuing, I took it today and I was negative today. So masks do work. Madam Chair, with your permission, I would like to defer item 6B to Mr. Andrews.
Mr. Andrews.
Thank you, Chair Harris. I do want to start by just going off of what I sent you and mentioning, reflecting what Superintendent Parentozzi said about COVID. It is back and it is causing us to spend time considering staffing. I'm really happy to say we have a fantastic staff that's willing to work together to cover whatever needs to happen. And I can report that no students have been impacted through loss of service, through loss of specialist teachers. But we have had the PE teacher teaching the first 45 minutes of kindergarten and loss of prep time. We have had other folks, moving things around. And so it's through a great team effort at the school that the teachers really want to see what's best for the kids, and all the staff pull together for it. And so it's great. We haven't had an impact, I don't think, on the students, but it's definitely noticeable in the numbers. And then on to teaching and learning. Let me let you know about that. We've had some great conversations with an organization called Open Architects. And we've been talking a lot about data this year at the school committee meetings. And we think it's a good time to really try to put a lot of the different data sources together into one dashboard that the teachers will have access to, that I'll have access to, and that'll be live. And so it'll take iExcel, it'll take iReady, it'll take MCAS. Teachers will also be able to key in their own information for data that they have that's different. So for example, this reading assessment we only do in kindergarten, Dibbles. And she's the only teacher that does it. Doesn't make sense to make a whole data connection to it, but they're gonna have an input way for that. And so I'm really looking forward to sharing this, and we're hoping to have it up and running probably within 3 weeks. We've been working on it with Mr. Lockwood as well. I want to congratulate the first grade for having a great reading carnival. That was last Friday. They celebrated the students reading all the pages that they were assigned, and they met their goal. And so parent volunteers turned out in force and really celebrated the students' accomplishment. And that was nice to see. That was held outside behind the school. So congratulations to Ms. Federo and Ms. Raymond. And also, I want to thank the PTO for the song and dance presentation that we had. It got really nice reviews from the students and the staff. Mr. Chris was a fantastic performer, a really positive person. And we're glad to have him at the school. So I want to say thanks to the PTO. I know that the PTO is really looking for new members to step up and help out. And so that was a great contribution that they made. In the area of community, I want to speak about Spirit Week. We had a great, successful week. The students were very respectful, even though they were having fun, dressing differently. You know, I saw students coming to school in unicorn onesies and football onesies and throwback clothes. And but everyone, you know, had fun, but kept a good balance, I thought. And I want to thank Ms. Brett for getting that together with the student council, with the student council. That's right. Next on community, I want to mention the walking school bus. This is part of our Walk to School program. And Eden Reiner has been walking with Charlotte from Little Nahant over to Johnson School. And we had some discussions about, well, there's this idea of having a walking school bus where you can pick up other students. And so now she's picking up 5 students, or that she's bringing 5 students to school, saving car trips, saving parent angst, and getting kids together. And it's really nice. It's a great community builder. I'm so happy to have her as a partner in this. I think in the coming decade, we'll really be talking about how to reduce our footprint. And it's a way to do that because it's a short ride, but it takes a lot of gas compared to the distance you go, not very efficient. And if you can have a parent help out, then that's great. So we're working with her and she's going to be putting together a text group and a map so that we can have some kind of scheduled stops where kids can just join in and walk with her. I want to let you know about the afternoon day camp that we're offering. I don't believe we're offering this as of the last meeting. So this is new since the last meeting, but I have been sending plenty of emails out about it, information out about it. We wanted to look into whether or not there's enough interest in the town to have an afternoon day camp that would complement the enrichment program. And so from our survey, we found that there are enough parents, enough families interested. And so with that, we created a registration form and sent that out. Right now, we have about 7 registrants signed up. It's not quite enough, I don't believe, to launch the program, but we know there's another 5 or 6 students out there that still need to. I'm not sure.
Possibly 2 more.
Yeah, possibly 2 more, right, count on you.
I'm in.
Great,
I'm late, I'm in.
that's okay, that's okay. I had it in the back of my head, so that's why I wasn't concerned. So that's great. That'll be Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5:30. And Ms. Bechtel, we're hoping will be, or another colleague will be helping with that. We've had some interest. And we'll see, you know, how it goes forward. I have a question from Ms.
I do
Lane.
have a question.
Through Madam Chair, yes, to begin, sorry, I'm not sure.
I had asked about, because the different volume of days signups, and this might be important for people here, that it doesn't need to be like 5 days in a row.
Right,
That's right.
How is that gonna work with Fridays being a longer day?
well, what I figured is that, do you mean financially?
Yes.
So what I figured is that I'm expecting people will be more likely to pick a Monday through Thursday
Yeah.
because they're gonna get programming that's run by, you know, a teacher that's more academic focused.
Yeah.
And that on a Friday, you're more likely to not use that day in the first place because it's Friday,
Right.
the family's going away and so forth. So I'm kind of just crossing my fingers and hoping it's gonna work out. Because I don't think it's a parent advantage picking a Friday.
No, right.
And there is a school disadvantage picking people picking Fridays. So if someone picked 5 Fridays, it's not gonna work out in our favor, but I just don't think that it's that likely, and the whole thing was very complicated anyway, so I decided not to get into that layer.
And will it, I mean, will there be, if there's specific days that there's not a lot of students signed up, would it not run on those days? Or
No, we can't do that. Yeah, we can't do that. You guys are counting on, folks are counting on it, they're planning around it. We're just looking at the whole package, and we wanna make sure, you know, as long as we have a certain number of days paid for, we can staff it.
Right.
You know, we're not looking to fund a science program or something, we're just looking to break even or maybe, you know, bring the district some money.
One last question.
Yeah.
As long as we meet my minimum number
Mhm.
until we hit maximum number at which you would need to have more staff? Are you gonna keep enrollment open, right?
Oh, sure,
Is that-
absolutely, yeah. We are gonna ask for
I
a
think you're
deadline,
already-
just so that we know
Yeah.
we can push people. I think a deadline helps people,
Yes,
get their answer in.
right.
So we'll keep pestering you, but we certainly won't close, and I really don't predict that. The challenge with the Johnson School is that to staff something, you really are most comfortable with 2 people.
Right.
But 2 covers a lot of students,
Yes.
given the size of the school. And so, I think 2 covers at least 25 students in a camp situation. And that's how many in enrichment camp, we're only expecting probably 30 to 35, in enrichment camp. Just because we only have 100, we have 100, some students, so.
Madam Chair, if I may, I just want to reiterate and clarify. The 8:30 to 11:30 enrichment activities are free of charge. And they are academic. They are happening on Monday through Thursday from July 18th to August 12th. The Friday is an all-day camp that the parents have to pay for. And there was some confusion about that earlier. That's why I'm taking time to make sure that that's clarified. And Mr. Andrews will be sending that clarification out again in the newsletter or in a separate email, I think a separate email. Because I think there are still some people who are a little bit hazy about it. Anybody can send their children Monday through Thursday during the 4 weeks from 8:30 to 11:30 for no cost. That's school, that's academic, kind of fun, hands-on, but that's schoolwork. From 11:30 to 5:30, Monday through Thursday, and from 8:30 to 5:30 on Friday, that's summer camp. And that needs to be paid for by the parents.
Madam Chair, through you, I have a question. Is this K through 6?
Having completed K to 5 is our target audience,
Okay,
but we are inviting 6th graders to participate as well,
okay,
having completed.
right. And
That's the enrichment.
yes, okay,
The day camp is not open to 6th graders going to 7th grade.
no, right. And are we assuming you will group the kids by grade once you determine who
Yes,
we have? Okay, right, thanks.
yeah, we'll have 3 groups,
Depends on the numbers.
yeah,
And
2
staff.
or 3 groups.
Okay,
Mhm.
thanks.
Yeah, we have 3 teachers, 2 general educators, 1 special educator, and then support person.
And do you have to go through all 4 weeks, or can you do like 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Okay.
So in the enrichment, we're asking parents to let us know in advance what weeks they'll be away, if
Okay.
any.
Yep.
And so there's a detailed survey that'll go out for that enrichment, 8:30 to 11:30.
Yep.
Because we don't expect everyone to be there it would be great if they were, but we completely understand that's when you go to vacation.
Yeah.
So, and then on the summer camp portion, you just buy days in blocks. A block of 5, a block of 10, a block of
Oh, okay.
15, a block of 20, extra days per diem.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like, you just got your tokens, I'm sorry about this here.
Yep.
I don't know what this is. So, yep. So you just buy.
You buy the block and you can use the block in any way.
Any day, and then
Okay,
as the
great.
student, if Galileo comes to camp one day, we just check off, kind of like punch a ticket, and
Great.
that's, and it's a bank that you work down through.
Right.
The more you buy up front, the more, the less expensive it is.
Right.
And then you can always add more at the end.
That's great.
Yeah, it is great.
Before we move on to the dates, I wanted to backtrack to the teaching and learning and just had a follow-up question. Last time, we had talked about math and about the different tiers of support that students were getting, just based on the scores of the MCAS and the iReady assessment with like math needs and help. And I was just wondering, how are those extra sessions going? Is there feedback from parents or community about That progress?
Sure, I don't have assessment data back from that yet, but I do have attendance data, and I think it looks good because it's consistent. Students that we've recommended are attending. I think the numbers could be higher still. I'd like to see more enrollment. We did do another round of requests, to parents, to have their students signed up. We're really trying to have the students that have the most room for growth attend. If someone else reached out to us and they wanted their son and daughter to come, we would certainly accept them as well. You know, if the family's behind it, then great. And so this has been consistent, and they're really well behaved too. So it's, some years ago, we had it K to 6, and it was a little bit of a different situation. And so, and it was fine, it was good, but I think this is more of a focused, you know, smaller ratio, it's nice. But I would like to see another handful of kids.
Okay, thank you.
Put that in the email too,
Sure.
or another email. Yeah, we are running the program and
Yep.
we do have room.
Okay.
And it's very convenient. It's right after school till 3 o'clock.
Yep, simple snack included, just to
Yeah.
motivate the kids.
Yeah, works.
Yep, well, bag of chips. Below this, I have my dates, as I've had them through the last couple meetings. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. So moving on to the facilities report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I do the facility report, I would like to commend Mr. Andrews. We really are focusing on returning to offering many activities that we were hosting before the pandemic. And it's a slow kind of metamorphosis. I think parents kind of got used to their kids being home more. And it's really, we're gonna go slow, but we're gonna keep adding things. For example, we're going to contact the Coast Guard. We had a wonderful relationship with the Coast Guard. That, you know, we had activities. We had our older students going into Boston to the Coast Guard station, Station Boston, and so it's really time to begin to blossom back to where we were. We are going to have a musical presentation for the first time in 2 years. So, and again, Mr. Andrews is carrying the load there, so I wanted to make sure that we said thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your recognition.
Yes.
Okay, in terms of the facilities, the cafeteria roof was repaired yesterday. That's probably the 4th time I've had it repaired since I've been here. When in 2007, when the building was renovated, they put the wrong kind of roof on. It's a shingle roof with a low pitch. And you know, where it's, if you look right from the gable end of the cafeteria, 150 yards, and you're, you know, in the water. So in addition to the cafeteria, the gym roof, which we said we were going to postpone because of the enormous cost, the roofer who was here repairing the cafeteria roof talked to us about a brand new system that they roll on a silicone covering onto the existing roof. It's not unlike what you would do to an asphalt driveway, except it's not ugly black. It's white. And it's not tar based, it's silicone based. So we're getting an estimate for both of those roofs. I think they may be low, the estimates may be small enough for us to be able to afford just doing it this summer. Without getting involved with MSBA, which is, as I've explained to you, enormous paperwork, plus more costs because they require certain steps to be taken where, you know, we have 2 simple roofs. There's not even any holes in the roof. So I will be talking to you about that later. The roof will be a white surface. So the gym roof will actually improve in appearance. And the cafeteria, I don't think if we did that, it would be much less attractive than the shingle roof that's up there. That every time we have a storm, we're gonna have a roof repair done. The other option is to pull all the shingles off and to do it in, with a rubber roofing, the way a flat roof is. And that obviously would be much more expensive than the silicone coating. So you'll hear from me again on that. The personnel report. Today I posted the lead camp staff person, an assistant camp person, and we also posted the, we have a paraprofessional for the academic morning program, and we believe we're gonna add another paraprofessional so that we would have 2 teachers and 2 paraprofessionals. So other than that, staffing is status quo with the exception of COVID-19, where either staff members get sick, their children get sick and they have to stay home and take care of them. Because our masks are off, we have a lot of flu, we have that stomach, we have that norovirus going around, the old fashioned, influenza. So again, Mr. Andrews is scurrying and making sure that the children are always supervised and educated.
So we have a lead staff, a paraprofessional, what's the third position?
An assistant camp staff person. So a lead, an assistant in camp, and then a paraprofessional for the morning. We also cannot find an OT, occupational therapist, or a speech and language therapist for special education, so we're gonna have to hire somebody from a service to come in. We absolutely have to have it. That'll be much more expensive, but we do have the federal funding for this, so I'm not worried about it. And in your packet, you will find the NEC 2023 approved budget. And you should be aware that we got an additional assessment this year from them, about $5,000, which is minimal, for construction and repair of their elementary facility. And that we have the money to come right out of the budget. While I'm speaking about budgets, next meeting, I will put before you a transfer. We are overextended in our transportation budget. And because the town, I believe I mentioned this to you, you can nod and tell me, because the town votes for the transportation budget separately, I can't do what we typically do when we have one budget, one line item that's expended, and we have money in another line item. The town accountant, you'll have it in front of you next time, an actual form the town accountant will bring to the finance committee and to the board of selectmen to approve the transfer from money from our special education tuition account to the transportation account. It's not a question of money, it's a question of
Transferring.
line item. And in fiscal 24, the town administrator has agreed to ask the finance committee to recommend one number for us, so we don't have to do this again. Unfortunately, it was too late for the fiscal 23, so we'll have to deal with it one more time.
I had a couple questions about this, Mr. Pierantozzi. How many students on the school programs, how many students does this represent that we send to other programs? It's tiny compared to other, like, Lynn and Peabody, but I wondered how many students that was comparatively. If you're allowed to say, you may not be allowed to say.
Yeah, are you talking about specifically the NEC or other programs?
To NEC. To the,
The
that
NEC.
this represents. I was looking at us, the bar graph there.
Yes, a little tiny.
Yeah, if you know, I mean, it's pure curiosity on my part, not. there's no
Sure.
word Up here,
I believe we only have one student there.
okay. And then do we, if there is a high schooler that was going to Swampscott Public to one of these programs, would that come out of Swampscott or would that come out of Nahant?
If the student
resident.
is a Nahant resident, the town of Nahant and our budget would cover the student.
Okay, regardless if they were at Recovery High, we would cover the cost of
Yeah,
Recovery
the
High.
only exception to that would be twofold. One would be if a student, regardless of his or her age, is a state ward,
Okay, yeah,
then that
Yep.
comes out of the state human services budget.
Yep.
And we do have a
Like
student,
DCF custody kind of thing,
uh,
like in an out of home placement.
yes. And then the other one would be is if the student moved in and requires expensive education in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Then there's a cost share.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we hire a nurse for the summer program now? Or
Yes.
so- Okay.
We actually hired 2 nurses. One will be here for 2 weeks and one will be here for 2 weeks.
Oh, I have one other question on the NEC. Topsfield Vocational Academy, is that just a special education school? That's not a typical like VOTEC type school?
That is
I hadn't heard
a,
it. Because some of these I was familiar with, the upper and lower, certainly the
Right.
Recovery High School. But the Topsfield Vocational popped out at me and I wondered what that was all about.
I'm not sure which one Topsfield is. We've never had a student there. I believe it is a program for job preparation for disabled high school age
Yeah.
or post-high school students.
Typically, if it's under the NEC umbrella, there's some significant challenges that are being met by those educational programs that are. under
That's
that.
right.
Yeah,
The consortium was founded to assist districts because of the relatively small number of students that would require very specialized education or occupational therapy, occupational preparation, let's put it that way.
yeah,
And of course, we are like the poster child for that, where we would have one student in a program and nobody in other programs. And some of the other districts are much larger and therefore they would have a number of students.
that helps. And again, it's under the category of Think Best, Smarter, other schools. And I have a professional interest, as you know. those
Of course.
types things. Yeah.
So moving on to new business.
Old business, Madam Chair, summer camp. So I believe Mr. Andrew stole my thunder by telling you we have 7 committed people and probably as many as 9 now, so we're gonna keep rolling forward. I've developed a budget with Mr. Andrews and with Chris Patsos that would allow us to run the program with those kinds of numbers. The summer academic enrichment program, we have 35-ish at this point, and we are fully staffed. And it is my great pleasure to announce that as of today, I registered us for, quote, the 2022 Acceleration Academy, which we did 2 summers ago. As they always do, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education reinvented the program based on the need. I believe those of us who are interested in mathematics will find this very interesting. The program this year is twofold. For rising kindergartners, first and second graders, in other words, kids who are going to be going into 1, 2, and 3, it is an early literacy program. For students who are in rising 3rd and 4th graders, in other words, students who will be going into the 4th and 5th grade in September, it is a mathematics program. I posted those jobs today. We are going to do it, the last full week of August before we start our programs. It's 5 days. It's going to be 4 hours a day, which is the 20-hour minimum. And we will be hiring, I posted up to 3 teachers. So we'll see what the interest is. Right now, we haven't been approved for the program, but I'm ahead of that. I'm assuming since the commissioner asked us to apply for it, he's in all seriousness wants us to do it. So I don't think they're gonna say no at the last minute. That week is August.
It's 5 days.
5 days, 8:30 to 12:30. And it is August 22nd to 26th. There will be no charge for that. That will be paid for by state funds via the federal government for post-pandemic recovery.
It's called the Accelerated Enrichment.
The 2022 Summer Acceleration Academy. And that's hot off the press.
And is the stipend gonna be similar to last year? I mean, is there a grant this year, like there was last year, to pay for the teachers?
I'm sorry,
From ESSER funding.
for the acceleration
From ESSER
program?
funds.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
funded, yes.
that's funded through the state with federal funds.
That's great.
Okay,
And did I miss it, or is, fifth, and sixth, there's not a program for this?
that's right.
Okay.
I don't know why, but when I had the paperwork, actually, I had the posting, I actually copied the memo from the commissioner. There's nothing for students going into 6th or 7th grade.
Okay.
Or fifth.
Or fifth.
Going into 5th is a rising 4th grader. So they're,
Oh, going into sixth.
okay, let me say it again.
All right.
So it's rising K1-2, which means K to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3.
So the people that are currently teachers. Okay.
So
And then there's rising, that's ELA. Then there's rising 3 and 4, which are students going into 4th and 5th. There's nothing for students going into 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
They do have a rising 8th grade through 12th grade program.
So that's so strange.
Yeah.
It's like.
It may be based on what they saw in the MCAS. They may have the MCAS enough, will they have enough information by now?
Yeah, they would with the
Yeah.
computer, or last year's anyway.
Yeah. It may be what they're seeing has been the need.
Madam Chair, if I may add, I do distinctly remember that the 4th graders was an area of concern last year statewide in that.
Yeah,
So that would be this year's for fifth.
Yeah, that's right.
Which those kids will not have the opportunity to attend this.
yeah.
Yes.
My guess is if we have room, we'll open it up.
Yeah,
I think that would be fantastic
Yeah,
for
I mean,
those families who are.
We hire 2 staff and we have 15 people. The maximum ratio is 1:12.
Yeah.
They're gonna send
Yeah,
me,
what
they're
do you
gonna
think?
send me to acceleration prison.
Right. What? You opened it up, how dare you?
Yeah. Exactly, efficient use of the resources. Rather than going to acceleration prison, I should get a thank you.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. Thank you for using our resources.
Yeah, that's
appropriately.
right, that's right.
But that would be great if that was, made available to that.
Yeah. As always, today's world, staffing
I
may
know,
be
right?
the limiting factor.
Remind me what happened last year. Were we able to staff that?
No, we didn't run it.
We didn't run it.
Acceleration Academy is
We had the
good.
acceleration plan
Yeah,
last
we
year.
are.
Did we have it last year?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have 3 teachers.
3 teachers, 2 from Nahant and 1 from outside Nahant.
It was the year before we didn't run
It's,
It might have been the
Right.
year before.
it. One
we
year we
started.
didn't run it.
yes,
You're right. It wasn't last year, it was the year
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
It was 20. We didn't run it in 20.
Mhm.
And we could have, but
we never interest.
yeah. The summer of 20 was a wacky one. It was rough.
Yeah, people.
Hey, Madam Chair, on to new business with your permission.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the first order of business would be a change in our school calendar, which is minimal but important. When we went through our programmatic audit for our school breakfast and lunch program about a month ago, the DESE person told us that except for the 3 jump-off vacation half days, we must provide lunch for students on half days. So what we've decided to do is, and I can tell you, it's a problem for all districts. What we're gonna do is serve pizza on those half days. Fast, easy, everybody loves it. The kids will go home fed and happy, and the parents will love us. Some districts have done bag lunches, so as the kids leave the school, they don't take any time for lunch on half days, but as the kids leave the school, they grab a bag lunch. We were informed that we couldn't do that, and nobody can do that anymore. They want the students to eat in school. So what we'll do on those half days is have pizza lunches with no recess, because the students are going to be going right home. Okay, so what I've taken the liberty of doing is correcting the calendar that stated no lunch on the days when we have to have lunch, and left the no lunch on the jump off days.
September 12th. And parent-teacher conferences.
Yep. PD days,
Okay.
teacher conference days.
I make a motion to approve the Johnson School calendar for 2022-2023 as reflected, with the addition of lunches on half days other than those immediately before vacation.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. And we will substitute the calendar that's marked 8A, which says revised 5/10, approved 2/15. We will substitute that throughout the communication, online, et cetera, et cetera. You have asked me to do something that is 8B1, but I'm going to start with 8B. 8B is the next school year's meeting calendar. It starts on the fiscal year. It starts in July. And I have created a draft of school committee meetings for next year. It follows the typical pattern of the second and the fourth Tuesday, except when it cannot. For a variety of reasons. Yes, I've moved the single meeting months. I've moved the single meetings on months when you only have one to a more comfortable day if necessary. Sometimes it wasn't, like November and December were fine in February. Okay, we were able to fit in 2 in April around vacation. And for the last X number of years, we've only had one meeting in July and August, with the exception of 2020, where we had a gazillion of them because of COVID. So I only have one there. So, Madam Chair, it's up to the members of the school committee. You can either approve this committee meeting schedule this evening, or you can table it and think about it and approve it next time. Totally up to you, Madam Chair, and the school committee members.
I make a motion to approve the school committee meeting dates as written for 2022 to 2023.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Now, 8B1 is new. If you remember, I told you that I have a quarterly report. So I started to do it and I said, why don't I just lay the year out
Yeah.
for the members of the school committee?
Like a PD calendar.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I really
like
appreciate
that.
this. Thank you.
So what I did is I laid out next year, topic by topic by topic, meeting by meeting. Note that I bolded quarterly update. I only have 3 of them because I didn't think it would make sense to do one later than April, because we have end of the year presentations in May and June. However, the school committee chooses to have a 4th quarter. I kind of felt a little silly only having 3 quarters of the year, but it seemed to make sense not to have one late. I bolded the quarterly reports and I put a list of what I believe you wanted to be covered on those quarterly reports: academic achievement, professional development, personnel, and budget. In addition, every meeting has a more specific topic. Obviously, this is a list of the topics we would cover in addition to other things that were time sensitive, date sensitive. And this can be amended at any time from the table, but I thought this may help.
It does. I appreciate it very much. Thank you again.
It's great.
So, Madam Chair, if the school committee chooses, or if you choose, motion and a vote to accept the standard school committee agenda topic list for 2022-23.
Before we make a motion, I just want to ask, does that mean that if we amend it, we have to vote on it every time we amend it?
Yes,
Is it something that can just serve as a guide? Do we have to vote on it?
no,
I'm not going to make a motion to vote on, but I would suggest that we just use it as a guide, because it's not our policy that we have to have the agenda, like outlines, like, I mean, we have an agenda, which we vote on, you know, for each meeting, but we don't have to have it.
Madam Chair, through you. Absolutely correct. There's no need to even have this. I think if the school committee chose to, leave it as an administrative guide, then I will use it as I prepare the agenda with the chair. And if we change, there's absolutely no need for a vote.
Yeah.
That would be my
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, the next item is 8C. This is an annual authorization. This is what it says. It authorizes the superintendent to act on school committee's behalf for very specific things, so that during the summer months, if something comes up, I can handle it for the members of the school committee. It certainly does not give me authorization to spend any money that's not in the budget, or to make major changes in curriculum or anything like this. This is more of a business list. And Madam Chair, there's three motions on this one sheet of paper. One is to authorize the superintendent to act on the school committee's behalf on the A through F. And then a separate motion to accept grant funds on your behalf and to authorize the establishment of separate grant accounts. And then participation in the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program is a third motion. All of them have to be separate.
Would anyone like to start?
I'll make a motion to authorize the superintendent to act on the school committee's behalf to follow A through F in the notes for the public school committee meeting on the 10th, 2022. Is that enough detail, Mr. Pirantosi?
It is. With the recording secretary's permission, I will add this document to the minutes.
Great.
I second that motion. All in favor?
I,
Would anyone like to make a motion? Second.
I'll make a motion to authorize the superintendent to act on the school committee's behalf to accept all of fiscal year 2023 grant funds.
I'll second that.
We have a second
Banana.
answer. All in favor?
I,
Last but not least, would someone like to make the motion?
I think it's actually two more.
see, it's to see the lunch program.
Oh,
Yeah, participation in the.
okay, sorry.
National School Lunch.
I'll make a motion to authorize the superintendent to act on the school committee's behalf to participate in National School Lunch and Breakfast Program. What a second.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Moving on.
Thank you. And then item 8D, Madam Chair, members of the committee, is the intra-district school choice program. This takes a little bit of explanation. Prior to last year, the DESE required a separate hearing for this. It happened kind of like the budget hearing right before a school committee member meeting. And I contacted the DESE because one of my colleagues told me, are you still having a hearing? No, we don't have to do that unless you really need to, or unless you think there's going to be a controversy, or unless the district is changing from being a school choice district to not a school choice district. Because it's not required any longer. So I contacted the commissioner's office and the actual legal's office, Schneider, and she said, yeah, Tony, you don't have to do that. So we're not going to change anything unless the members of the school committee decide to change. I think it's totally your decision. But you are required to vote annually on whether you or not the Nahant Public Schools will participate in the inter-district school choice program.
Tony, do you mind giving a quick rundown on what that is?
Certainly. The intra-district school choice program is where students from District A can go to District X, A through X, or B through X, any district that takes school choice students. And a required part of that right is the obligation to take students into your own district from other school districts.
Okay.
So it works both ways. Some districts are magnets because of athletic programs, co-curricular, extracurricular activities. Some are magnets for students from surrounding communities because of their academia. We would have an enormous problem with Swampscott if all of a sudden we decided to take in X number of students from the city of Lynn, as an example. And then when they reached 7th grade, they would go to Swampscott High School As a matter of fact, that would cause a huge problem that the legal department doesn't know what would happen. So let me explain why they don't. The school choice law is that a student can stay in the district until graduation, or until the parent chooses otherwise, once they're in. Well, we don't have 7th to 12th grade, so the natural assumption is they would go to Swampscott. Our Swampscott agreement only covers students who live in Nahant. The potential exposure for the taxpayer of Nahant is inexplicably large, plus the legal fees, plus we don't know which one the courts would decide, and my guess is it would be in courts a long time.
And also transportation, right? We currently don't have any transportation budget aside from our students who attend this school.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, we do pay for transportation 7 through 12 for Nahant residents.
Yes, right.
We would not be obligated to transport school choice students.
Okay.
The parents are responsible for that. Some
Okay.
districts do it.
Okay,
So for example, a regional school district, again, you have this conflict in law.
right.
A regional school district, of which I was a superintendent, is required to transport 100% of the students. So
Right.
most of them just say, hop on the bus that's as close to your home as you can.
Mhm.
But we, of course, would have a real problem, because if someone from Marblehead wanted to go here to 6th grade, then what would happen? Would we send the bus to Marblehead to? So I recommend that you continue to withdraw from the interdistrict school choice program. The other issue is the monetary. We can control it to some degree. In other words, if there was a class with 20 kids and you wanted to keep class size to 20, we could say no to students who wanted to come in that grade. Problem is, court cases have been won and lost where parents said the school district was being too restrictive and putting a limit too low. Sometimes the parents win, sometimes the district wins. In my opinion, we just don't need it. And there is a recommended motion at the bottom of that sheet.
Okay, I can make the motion that the Nahant School Committee withdraw Nahant Public Schools from the interdistrict school choice program for the 2022 to 2023 school year in accordance with MGL Chapter 76, Section 12B.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Madam Chair, 8E. On an annual basis, any community who does not have a full complement of school grades covered in their public school system has to apply to the commissioner to not maintain a K-12 educational program and to tuition students somewhere, or to take action somehow to educate students to graduation. Obviously, historically, we have sent 7th through 12th grade students to Swampscott. This is a requirement of law. There is no option. If you chose not to take this action, we would have an enormous legal problem with Swampscott. Plus a bill for $1.53 million and no students being educated.
Yeah.
So my motion is that you move to not maintain a K-12 educational program and tuition the students to the Swampscott Public Schools, and authorize me to submit all the notice and obviously documents, which by the way include the agreement with Swampscott. I have to upload that.
I'll make a motion that Nahant School Committee approve not maintaining a K-12 education program and tuition students in grades 7 through 12 to the Swampscott Public Schools for the 2022 through 2023 school year. The superintendent of schools is authorized to submit appropriate notice and all required documents to the Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education.
I'll second the motion made by Ms. Dan.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Eight F is a list of surplus items. Just to remind members of the school committee, because we don't do this very often, when publicly funded purchases are no longer required or necessary or useful, you can't just throw them away. You have to, because public funds bought them, you can't just decide, in some school districts, like for example, school buses. I mean, we're talking about big items or tractors or things. Luckily, we don't have those items, but we do have items that are relatively expensive. Our obligation is to put them on the state system to allow people who peruse the state system to know we have them. I want to thank you, Mr. Andrews, for and Mr. Lockwood. Charles, for taking pictures of everything. So, Madam Chair, with your permission, I respectfully ask the member of the school committee to make a motion to declare items on 8F surplus. And that includes all of the items listed by number. There is an estimated cost if somebody wanted to pick them up. Just so members of the school committee understand, this money, if we got any, would go to the general fund of the town. It would not be your money as members of the school committee to spend. And that is because the general, town meeting and the taxpayers are the source of the funds where everything was purchased. So it does make sense. With the items that we have in this list, I'm not real optimistic that we're going to get much action. We did, last time we did it, we got a little bit. And we have to reiterate several times this time that we don't take cash. Because somebody walked in with a whole bunch of money.
I'll make a motion to surplus the items designated in the school committee packet as 8F.
Second that motion. No paper, no cash.
No, and don't give your cash.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And 8G is a donation from Charles Lockwood. And I respectfully ask the member of the school committee to make a motion to accept this donation on behalf of the school district. It is for a Mac 21.5-inch late 2012, blah, 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 value $150.
I'll make a motion to accept the donation made by Charles Lockwood around of technology to the Nahant.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
As is typical when someone donates something, I will create a letter on your behalf and thank them, and also to tell them that we're not doing their IRS evaluation. They have to do it for themselves. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
So moving on to other business from the committee. Okay, moving on to announcements. Okay, welcome, Liana.
Yes,
welcome,
thank
Liana.
you.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
Yeah.
About that. there are no other agenda items, I'll take a motion to adjourn this meeting to enter into executive session, not to reconvene into open session.
I'll make a motion at 8:28 to enter into executive session, not to reconvene into open session for the approval of the executive session minutes on 4/26/22, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with union personnel and TA Unit B, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining and TA Unit A, and to discuss deployment of security devices.
I'll second that motion made by Ms. Tan. All in favor?
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.